TSB, I'm Neil Oja. This is Talk 100.3. And what a time to be a woman, isn't it? You know, the time where there was a time where, women were looked upon as the weaker sex. And this is something that I, as someone who's been a coach, who's been associated with women's sport for quite some time, have never been able to accept, and thus have strived double hard to ensure that we don't look at these two sexes as, the weaker one and the stronger one, or the better one. We look them as humans who are out there to prove their skills, their metals on the same platform. Joining me to talk more about this and in detail about an event that's coming up on the 3rd and the 4th of March, top of her game, is Christina Ioannidis. Have I got that last name right?
Ioannidis.
Ioannidis. All right, perfect. I'll probably get it by the end of the show. Christina, welcome to TSB.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil.
Christina, what is this event that is lined up on the 3rd and 4th of March? It's called Top of Her Game. And what are we going to talk about? What is going to be the highlight of this event?
Well, firstly, thanks very much for giving me the platform to be able to share this. So it's the Top of Her Game Women's Health Festival. Mm-hmm. We'll be looking at breaking taboos and really digging deep into the issues that women face along their health transitions. So a woman goes through puberty, then has adulthood, fertility, then perimenopause, menopause. These are very distinct phases, which even as an athlete, one has to cater for and deal with. So we're actually looking at 3 main areas. Mm-hmm. What are the mental health challenges that women face? And I don't know if you know this, but women are twice as likely as men to get Alzheimer's and dementia.
That's right.
The second area is hormonal and menstrual health. And there we focus on all these challenges, as I told you, the hormonal changes that go through. And, there's a big challenge when we hit perimenopause and menopause, which kind of threw me into this journey. And finally, metabolic wellness. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we have an issue in the region in general of very high incidence of insulin resistance and diabetes too, which also affect hormones.
Which is
so
true.
It's a big cycle.
No, it is a cycle. And, I'm glad that, conversations about these subjects are coming out. And, I, for one, am extremely happy that we are talking about this on a public forum like this, where people are listening to us. So when you pick up a subject like this, and you use the term taboo, not too many people want to be associated at the first stage. The first stop is like, hey, do we really want to have a conversation on this? How do you break that taboo and get an event rolling first thing?
Do you know what's interesting? In the West, there's been a lot of focus around the whole issue of menopause and women in business, and why are there not more women in senior positions in business when they hit a particular age, which is, by the way, the same age as me, around the 50 mark. Mm-hmm. We are at the prime of our careers, but 1 in 10 of us choose, due to menopausal symptoms, to actually come off the career ladder. Mm-hmm. So it's a great question that you ask me, because interestingly, I think because there is now more of an opening globally around these subjects, so is there a positive response in the region. So we've got amazing speakers. Mm-hmm. We've got over 15 speakers who have lined up to actually share either their medical expertise or their personal stories on how they've overcome particular issues, including myself, because I have an autoimmune condition, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, 80% of autoimmune disorder sufferers tend to be female.
Okay.
So there's something in our physiology which also impacts us and impacts what happens to our bodies at a particular time. So this is one of the reasons why I think there's been a big positive response, because there is a general appreciation that men and women are different.
Right, which is true.
Primarily, it's our reproductive system that causes that difference, right?
Which is true.
That's what we're kind of focusing on and aiming to break the taboos on.
I'm so glad, I'm so glad that there are so many people who are wanting to now and willingly being a part of this. So when you say that there are 15 and more people who will be part of this forum, if you could shed some light on what kind of people are we expecting?
Sure. Look, I'm very proud that we have the 16-year-old president of the Supreme Council for Women for Childhood, and she is a Shahad al-Shabusi, and she is absolutely amazing. We have Her Excellency Dr. Omniyat Hajeri from the Abu Dhabi Public Health Center, who's also a speaker. We have the former Director General of the Friends of Cancer Patients for Friends of Cancer Patients, Dr. Christina Ioannidis. She's also a speaker. So we've been able to get women who really are eminencies and also game changers, as I like to call them.
Wow.
Women who are aiming to, drive the conversation and say, look, a 16-year-old talking about mental health, I don't know what you were doing at 16.
True.
I wasn't thinking about mental health.
Which is true. No, you're right. I mean, mental health, in fact, has been a conversation that has actually got to prominence in the last couple of years. In fact, maybe half a decade in this part of the region, we've been talking about it, trying to push and creating awareness. But at 16, definitely no one is talking about it. 16, you're burdened with your assignments. You want to get good grades so that you can get into a good university. And I guess that's about it. Probably try and, get a few weekend nights out from your family.
Yes. And I have to say something about mental health, that women are 70% more likely than men to get depression.
Right.
And so, again, it goes back to some of the challenges that our physiology exudes, if you like, that actually drive these. And I have to make a plug. It's not my book. There's a great book called Invisible Women. And I encourage anyone who's interested in the subject to read, because all the data is in there in terms of the data that's missing or the research that hasn't been done on women in terms of their symptoms. So why it's important, Neil, to talk about these things is that Parkinson's,
Alzheimer's for that matter,
heart attack, all of these issues, all of these ailments actually present themselves differently to women as they do to men.
Right.
So we have different symptoms. So we really need to understand where those differences come from. And that's why I kind of refer back to the research studies that may or may not have been undertaken on women. And going back to this autoimmune conditions, one of the interesting data points is that women are more likely than men to have adverse reactions to drugs and vaccines.
Right. Now when you put it this way, it definitely draws attention from not just a societal point of view, but from a medical standpoint as well.
Absolutely.
that you need to look at this structure in a complete different light altogether. And when you put in light on the by creating such forums, it's just one more step closer to understand women in a different way, in a better way.
Yes, and women have to educate themselves. So the reason why this platform is important, and thank you again for sharing this with your audience, is the fact that because there's not enough research done about women's ailments, women need to start listening more to their bodies and understand how they can actually prevent a lot of these things happening to them. And there's a lot of things that they can do. It comes down to lifestyle, it comes down to nutrition, it comes down to exercise, all the stuff that I know you know a lot about.
And I'll tell you something. I've been associated with women's sport for quite some time now. Women have a larger threshold for pain.
Yeah.
They have a bigger threshold of complaining about their physical, maybe say injuries or the pain the pain that they're going through. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. Exactly. Good thing, because hey, when you have higher pain threshold, you probably can push yourself harder. But at the same time, you are overlooking yourself, and that is more than the physical. It's more of a societal mindset that has been drilled into women that, listen, you can't be complaining about all of these things.
I love that you mentioned that, because that is one of the challenges that we face as women, because we're expected to just bite our lip and just deal with it and no matter what the pain is. Well, actually, no, it's not normal to have, for example, in my case, I have debilitating times of month. Okay. And that is because I have a condition called endometriosis that over 10% of women have.
Right.
And that is something that often gets very misdiagnosed because it's not something that you can openly see, and it's got symptoms that are visible. Yeah. So I lived all of my life with a very, very debilitating, 12 times in the year.
True.
I would be 2 days of those 12 months, so that's 24 days, nearly a month, where I could not practically function. Now
imagine.
That's not fair on any woman, not
which is true.
Me.
No, which is true, 100%.
So we really need to be able to say, look, if you've got something, try various different strategies, and we will talk about those strategies at the event.
Nice.
Which are how do you improve your metabolism, how do you lower your cortisol levels, how do you make sure your insulin is lowered as well, because that leads to the insulin resistance and diabetes too. And I'm going to talk a lot about, and not just me, but all the speakers are going to talk about how they also strengthen their mindset, because no matter what women can go through, they can come back on top.
Which is so true. I mean, they definitely can. Also, one thing, while we were talking about, the situation that we find women in, I've been lucky enough on this forum to speak to multiple gynecologists who've come to, and we've had conversations at various levels, on air and off air at the same time. One of the biggest challenges that women, and I personally know about this, is that they don't want to go out and talk about their personal health to the doctors, or take out time to actually go and do it, because they're busy doing it for their families. I mean, that kind of sacrifice that women do, it is not healthy.
Absolutely.
And this is something that, I don't know how to drill down in head of every single lady, every single woman who's listening to us right now, that listen, yes, it's good that you're doing all the sacrifices for your family, that, oh yes, the husband should go and get his treatment done if he's just even coughing, or the child has, a little bit of fever and you rush him to the doctor, but you might be suffering for months together. But you wouldn't be going to the doctor saying that, oh, that's all right, I'll take care of it.
Do you know what? I heard a fantastic quote from someone, which is another woman, who said, women have to learn that they can't serve others with a cup half full.
Which is so true.
So your cup has to be completely full in order for you to be able to serve others and do them justice. So you're absolutely right. It's one of the biggest challenges we face, but I am confident that because we're unveiling these topics and making it more mainstream, and with your help, this is fantastic to be able to have the airtime to do so, then it will also help break open these Pandora's boxes of challenges that women face, and able for them to start talking. Because what I want, so someone asked me, what's the takeout? I want, as a result of having this first Women's Health Festival, that every single woman who attends has the conversation with their mother, with their daughters, with their sisters, on what may be affecting them, and start opening up those, unraveling the mysteries that surround these issues that we face, and find solutions for them.
No, true. I mean, and to be very honest, the solution will come once you start the conversation. If there is no conversation, there is no solution to it. So I'm really glad that, we've had this conversation, and I'm glad that we have an event, a forum for this 3rd and 4th of March. If someone has to participate, or probably just come in and be an audience to this fabulous lineup that we have of guests who will be speaking on topics, where can they come? When can they come?
Yes. So hopefully, I'm hoping that they'll be able to find the website, which I don't know if we can put a link to it wherever we can online. The URL is top of her game / Women's Health Festival. And they can also if they find at top of her game on Instagram, that's the best place.
I think that's
the best place to find the link online, because it's on the bio.
Perfect. So this is what it is. Top of her game. That's the Instagram. Go onto your gram and look up for this handle. Follow them. I'm sure that there is a lot of content that goes out there.
Yes.
And if you're a man thinking that, hey, what is it for me in it? You have a mother, a wife, a sister for that matter, your female friends who could need all of this, who would rather need all of this. Daughters too. So please don't alienate yourself thinking that, hey, I'm a man, this is not for me. This is very much for you. Christina, thank you so much for joining in this conversation here today.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that we had this conversation, and I'm so glad that you setting up this event, Top of Her Game. This is a Women's Health Festival happening on the 3rd and 4th of March.
Abu Dhabi.
It's happening in Abu Dhabi.
At the Abu Dhabi Youth Hub, at the Corniche.
Perfect. So this is a fantastic place to host an event like this. And if you want to take that weekend out, this is the place to be. Thank you so much, Christina, for this once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. On